Hi boys and girls, welcome to my backyard again. Today it's such a beautiful day and it's Earth Day, so you'll probably be seeing this after Earth Day. That's where I'm wearing my Earth Day t-shirt. It's made out of recycled water bottles. Pretty cool, isn't it? Today the riddle is, why did the boy throw the butter, or the girl, throw the butter out the window? Think about it. You might get a clue when I tell you the title of today's book, Mrs. Carter's Butterfly Garden. It's by Steve Rich. Now sometimes in books they dedicate it to people, most of the time actually they do. So this book is dedicated to former First Lady Rosalind Carter. The First Lady is a wife of the President. For her commitment to making the world a better place for so many people, and for so warmly and graciously welcoming butterflies and me to Plains, Georgia. That's Rosalind Carter. Rosalind Smith was a small-town girl who grew up in the small Georgia town of Plains, where she was born in 1927. She loved the colorful zinnias, petunias, and other flowers that her mother planted in the front yard of their traditional white wood house. Like many of rural Georgia families, the Smiths had a milk cow. Young Rosalind's father told her to pull up the milkweed growing wild along the fence because it made the cow's milk bitter. Ugh. She didn't know then that one day she would plant milkweed to help another animal. She also loved to read, and she was an excellent student, graduating high school at the top of her class. I love the photographs in this book. These are actual photographs of her home and flowers, milkweed. After finishing college, Rosalind married another Plains native, Jimmy Carter. She first left Georgia as a Navy wife to travel wherever her husband was stationed. When her husband became governor of Georgia, Mrs. Rosalind Carter became the First Lady of the state. And when he later became the 39th President of the United States, she became the First Lady of the entire nation. First Lady is the title given to the wife of a state's governor or the President of the United States. During their years in the Navy and political office, the Carters lived in places such as Georgia, Virginia, Connecticut, California, and Washington, D.C. After many years of public service, President and Mrs. Carter returned home to Plains, Georgia. That's pictures of Plains, Georgia. Like many former presidential families, the Carters continue to live in their home, but have granted it to National Park Service so that it's designated as a state historic site, National Historic Site, and the park rangers help take care of the plants and grounds. As plans were made to plant a garden in front of Mrs. Carter's home, she wanted to make certain the garden would benefit the environment. Just as she was, I'm having trouble reading today, just as when she was a young girl, she turned to reading. She found out about the special kind of garden that has everything a butterfly needs. She also learned that human activity has destroyed many habitats for butterflies. In a butterfly garden, there are plants with flowers that have sweet nectar that a butterfly can taste with its feet before drinking it through its straw-like proboscis. There are also host plants on which butterflies lay eggs. Caterpillars hatch from these eggs and then spend their time eating leaves all day. Love the photograph of the caterpillar there. Look at the beautiful flowers. Mrs. Carter knew farmers around town of Plains had crops that needed flying pollinators. After all, she and her husband had run the family peanut business before Jimmy's political career. What if she had a garden that would attract pollinators to the area? The spot in front of Mrs. Carter's house was the right kind of sunny space. She wanted most people to provide a habitat for monarch butterflies, so she planted some milkweed, the host plant for this special migrating butterfly. That's what a monarch butterfly looks like. Mrs. Carter recalled that when she was a girl, her father told her to pull up the milkweed to prevent the cow's milk from being bitter. That same bitterness protects the monarch caterpillar and butterfly by making them poisonous to predators such as birds. Pretty it is. I guess the dogs are enjoying the story. On the milkweed, Mrs. Carter saw the stages of the butterfly's life cycle. She turned the leaf and saw the tiny egg on the underside. Later, the caterpillar came out and ate the egg shell as its first meal. Next, the caterpillar started eating the plant, devouring leaf after leaf after leaf. Another week or so passed, and the caterpillar steadily grew. Soon the caterpillar hung upside down and began to squirm out of its skin, becoming a chrysalis. The chrysalis was green and had some parts with golden shine. After about 2 more weeks, the adult butterfly emerged. So that's the lifestyle, from caterpillar to chrysalis to adult butterfly. It's a cycle. Just as she had done all her life, Mrs. Carter wanted to share her work. She wanted people to know all about her garden when they came from all over to visit Jimmy Carter National Historic Site in Plains. So she decided to have several gardens all along the special trail where visitors could see butterflies such as monarchs, swallowtails, skippers, gulf fritillaries, and many other species. This would allow visitors to learn more about how they can also plant gardens that will provide habitats for monarch butterflies and other pollinators. Local people helped. They planted more gardens at Plains High School, the Jimmy Carter Boyhood Farm, the Plains Welcome Center, and even downtown Plains. Just as Mrs. Carter had traveled around the country and the world throughout her life, the monarch butterfly travels in a seasonal migration. The butterflies fly south from Canada to places throughout the United States. When it's cold, they head to their winter destination in Mexico. In Mexico, they are dormant for several months. When the weather gets warm, they become active again. In the spring, they start flying north. They mate and lay eggs. A new generation of butterflies comes back to the United States, and some stop at the garden of Mrs. Carter's home. There they find the familiar plants and flowers that make up the butterfly habitat. The butterflies also find special pudding pans where they can drink water through their proboscis, taking in the minerals from the rocks and soil. Mrs. Carter knows that world travelers can be refreshed with all they need in the small South Georgia town. It is her hope that the butterflies will find their way to her garden and have all the plants they need for many more years to come. She also hopes that people will find their way from Plains to learn about how 2 young people from this small town made it all the way to the White House as President and First Lady, a different type of journey, but one with just as many challenges as the migrating butterflies face. An interesting book. It also has a glossary which tells, if you're not sure about some of the words, it can tell you about the words. Additional information, photographs. Okay, I love that book. That's why we're outside. So our art science activity has something to do with flowers and butterflies. Now, before we go on, why did the child throw the butter out the window? Can you guess? They wanted to see the butterfly. Ha! I miss you. I love you. Stay tuned. I'm going to take a tour of my garden, and then we're going to make a beautiful butterfly. Okay, boys and girls, we'll start on the side of my house where my trash cans. This is where I do some of my work for my gardening at my garden desk or table. Some firewood if I need it, my tools, composter. This is hibiscus, but I've also planted an onion over there. These are chives and some lettuces. Planted some kale and other lettuces. Oh, there's some cilantro, yummy. Celery, we'll talk about that more tomorrow. Some lettuces, more lettuces, and then the big part of my garden, we have tomatoes. I have to plant some of these cucumbers. Tomatoes, tomatoes, tomatoes. I like a lot of tomatoes. Now this is old kale from the winter, but it's coming back. Got some peppers here, more tomatoes. Some cucumbers. Oh, I have squash and potatoes in the back. Peppers, eggplant. And these are all my herbs, tarragon, You see the dill is starting to sprout, the cilantro is starting to sprout, parsley, and I'm going to plant some basil in the next few days. I also have some romaine lettuce. My lime tree right there. You can look around my yard where all the birds are. The pool, and then I have the butterflies like this. This is my lavender. I know some of you have it in your house. Okay, you ready for our activity? Okay, for today's activity, you're going to need a cutout of a butterfly, or you can cut out your own, some flower petals and leaves, some water, glue, scissors, and a paintbrush. Ready to get to work? Great. Okay, for this activity I put some cardboard down on the table so it wouldn't get dirty. I'd mixed my glue and water together to make it a little thinner. And I'm going to take all my flowers I collected on my walk this morning and from my backyard. I'm going to dump them out, and then I'm going to decide which ones I want to use to make my butterfly. Now, a lot of choices. I'll spread them out here. Maybe I'll make more than one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spread the glue all over my butterfly. Glue water mixture. If it gets over, it's okay. Hold it down. It's a little windy out here, and I'm going to start putting butterfly. I'm going to try to do the same on both sides. I don't know if it'll work, but I can try, right? Kind of fun to put this together. You can be working as I am. If you need some more glue, just put it down so it stays. That flower, so maybe some yellow petals up here. Just take the flower apart. Put some yellow petals over here. Kind of make it symmetrical or the same on both sides. Some rose here. Some rose petals. Some oranger ones. What I do on one side, I try to do on the other. I'm going to put some more glue water mixture to make sure it stays. Doesn't have to be perfect. It's the fun part of being an artist. You have something in your mind, but it turns out a little differently. That's okay. I'm going to take this purple one and take it apart. Oops. Wind's even blowing my camera this afternoon. Here, some purple over here. And maybe a green leaf over here. Have another green leaf. Oh no, I might have to go pick one up. Okay. Actually, put some more. I have a lot of pink ones, so maybe I'll just do some more, because you'll notice in butterflies a lot of time they have layers of color. So I'm going to let that one stay. Let it dry, put it to the side. Now for the next one, I can have the camera fall on my head. I'm going to put it here, and I'm going to cut up a lot of my petals and put them all in one place. So I'll be right back after I cut them up. Okay, boys and girls, what I've done for this one is I've taken some of my flowers and I've cut them up in little pieces. I'm making like a flower glitter. Now I look at it, what do you think? I like the colors. You know what I might add? I think it needs a little more pink. So I'll add a little more pink. Just cut up little pieces. And then, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna get a little crazy here. I'm gonna add a little bit of soil for some dark. You'll notice monarchs have some dark black on them. But most of the time, butterflies are bright colored like flowers, so they camouflage. And usually flowers are bright, so they can tell pollinators that they have pollen. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna paint my whole butterfly again with the glue water mixture. I'm gonna try not to do the black, but it's okay if you get it on there. Oops, almost dipped in the wrong thing. Now what I'm gonna do is take my flower glitter and just pour it on. Gonna push it in, make sure it stays. And look, took the extra back into my jar. I'm gonna let it dry now, and look, a beautiful butterfly. I'm gonna do one more thing. I'll be right back. Okay, boys and girls, for this one, I cut out the wings of the butterfly, the center part. You can see. Then I put tissue paper on the other side. That way you can see through it a little better if you want to hang it up on your window. I'm gonna paint it with my glue water mixture. Now, tissue paper is a lot more fragile, so you just have to be careful not to tear it. Really soaks up the water glue. Then I'll put my leaves on it. Maybe line it a certain way, go up the edge. What I do on one side, I'm trying to do the same on the other side. Get another rose petal, maybe do it in half this time. Different color rose petals. Pretty yellow petals. Goes the birds in my backyard. Some purple, we don't have any purple. Put some purple up here, purple over here. Push it down so it sticks to the glue. Kind of coral color. And let's see, do some more yellow on the bottom. Fingers start to get sticky, you have to be careful of that. Some more pink. And maybe some green specks. And almost done here. Let's see. Purple, a little bit of purple here. A little bit of purple here. And maybe some pink on here. Pink on here. Put some more glue on it so everything sticks. Especially the thicker leaves. Okay. I'm gonna let that, all three of them dry. We'll come back and look at them in a little bit. Okay, boys and girls, we're all done, and I have the finished product. Here is the first one we did with it just glued to regular paper. I cut it out. I think it's pretty. Here's the one that we did with our flower confetti. What do you think? And the last one I did with tissue paper. Got a little wrinkle because of the tissue paper, but what's nice is you can see through both sides. Hard to tell which is my favorite. I look forward to doing more science with you. Bye-bye, guys.